Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming in. We just given 5 minutes to a couple of people that they register, maybe running late. So couple of more minutes and then we are ready to start. Okay.
In the meantime, Yaritza, if you want, I can start introducing the topic. If more people are coming in, thank you so much. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Erica Carneiro. I'm one of the founders and directors at Bravo Migration, and I'm here today at invitation by YNS Accounting. Yaritza, Andrea, and the team very kindly invited me to talk to you guys, their clients or potential clients looking for accounting information. But mainly the topic today has to do with visas. So there is a type of business investor visa that some people seek information about, and they are in Australia on a student visa, and they want to know if they can apply. So YNS invited me to talk to you guys about this. So while we wait for more people to come in, I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm sure you all know Yaritza and the team at YNS Accounting. I migrated to Australia myself back in 1996, so that's been a long time. And I've worked with visas and visa applications, student visas, education here in Australia since my arrival. And in 2005, I registered as a migration agent. So I have worked in more than, I would say, 10,000 applications. But if we count just the ones I worked on since founding Bravo Migration, we'll say it's around 6,000. So myself and my team, we are very experienced. And our expertise is actually with people who are here already on a student visa, looking at other visa options, not just investor or business visas, but any other visa options out there. So hopefully this will be interesting to you. So what are we actually going to look at today? Is it okay to go ahead, Yaritza? We have 20 people.
I think people are right, so now we just keep going.
Beautiful, beautiful. So we're going to have a quick look at the Subclass 500 student visa and its work limitation. Because one of the important things, if you're here and you already have a business in Australia, you're holding a student visa and you either purchased or started a business, if you're looking at using that business to get a 188 business innovation and investment visa, the first thing you need to be careful about is, have you been in breach of your work conditions? So we're going to look at those conditions. We're going to try to answer the question, can student visa holders progress to a 188A provisional visa? And we're going to look at the general requirements for that visa under the innovation stream. So the Subclass 188 Business Innovation and Investment Visa has 4 streams, used to be 5, 4 streams. I'm going to tell you what those 4 streams are, but we can only cover one stream today, which is the business owner stream. Now, if you have any other plans other than having a business here, then we can certainly look at the other streams, but we will have to talk to you outside of the webinar. Now, the 188A visa is a temporary visa. It's not a permanent visa. It is granted for 5 years. After 3 years running a business in Australia, you may be eligible for the permanent version of this visa, which is the 888. So we're going to have a quick look at that. And then we're going to look at how we can help you at Bravo Migration, and I'll hand over to Yaritza and the guys at YNS to help you and talk about the accounting and business registration side. Feel free to ask me questions. Please use the chat box, and I can have a look at that. We ask that you don't ask any personal questions because we're here to provide general information, but we're happy to talk to you outside of the webinar, as I mentioned before. So going straight into it, probably all of you are here on a student visa if you signed up for a webinar that's called From Student Visa to 188 Visa. I'm presuming most of you, if not all of you, hold a student visa, and that would be subclass 500. Now, if you're the primary visa holder, if you're the student, then you would have condition 8105 in your visa, and that means unless you are undertaking a master's degree by research or a PhD, you can only work 40 hours a fortnight. If you have a fixed job, that would be 20 hours a week. But if you're working casually, you can move those hours around. So if you work in a restaurant, you could work 30 hours this week and 10 the next. But if you have a job where you work every week constantly, then it would be 20 hours a week. Unless your course is not in session. And what does that mean? That would be when your school is on holidays, or after you complete your course and you still have a little bit of time left in your student visa. Now, if you decide you want a holiday and you say, okay, I'm going to take a break from school and I want to work full time, that doesn't work. You're only on official holidays when your school's calendar has published a holiday. Now, if you're here as a company of a student, if you are a spouse, a wife, a husband of someone who's studying, you are what we call the student dependent, then your condition for work in your visa is not going to be 8105, it's going to be 8104. And that means you only have permission to work 40 hours a fortnight. There's no holidays, there's no I can work full-time on holidays because you're not studying, therefore you're not on holidays. Now, there is an exception to this rule, which is if your partner, if your spouse, if your husband, your wife, the students, if they are undertaking a master's degree by research or even by coursework or a PhD, then you can work full-time. So if you're here and your husband is studying a bachelor degree, you can only work 40 hours a fortnight. But if you're here and your wife is studying an MBA, which is a master's degree by coursework, then you can work full-time. And why am I talking about that? Because if you have full-time work permission on your student visa for any of these exceptions, then you don't have to worry about being, building a business or buying a business here and using that business later, because you can work full-time. Now, you can only start working once the course starts, so be careful with that. When you applied for your student visa, you probably saw something called genuine temporary entry criteria, and that's what we call the GTE. So think about that. We're going to revisit these conditions and requirements of the student visa once we're looking at the questions I'm going to ask you and get you thinking about, can you go from a student visa to a 188 visa? So what is the 188 visa? As I said, it's not a permanent visa. It's a 5 years visa. It used to be granted for 4 years, but on the 1st of July, there were changes to this visa. And this is one of the most important changes. Instead of being valid for 4 years, it's valid for 5 years. So it's a provisional visa. What is the difference between temporary and provisional? Your student visa is a temporary visa, meaning once it's finished, it's finished. You need to apply for another visa, the same type of visa, different type of visa. You need to leave the country. A provisional visa, technically, is also a temporary visa because it has a date to end, but it's got an open door for a permanent visa. So you get the 188 visa. If you do certain things after a certain time, you may be able to get a permanent visa, and that is subclass 888. So as I said, there used to be 5 streams, now there's only 4. we're going to be talking about 188A. And what is 188A? It's called the innovation stream, but you don't really need to be innovating. It's just the name of it. If you are in Victoria, however, and I know a lot of you are, the state of Victoria now, since the 1st of July, asks for an innovation business, and we're going to look into that. So that's the second biggest change. Victoria now wants innovation. And why do we care if Victoria wants something or not? Because this is a state-nominated visa. So we need to get state nomination, almost like a sponsorship, but not technically. Then we apply for the visa with the Department of Immigration. So first change, it's not 5 years, it's not 4 years anymore, it's 5 years. Second change, Victoria has published much stricter requirements. And this visa is for people who already have a business. So a lot of people come to us and say, I have a great business idea. I have a lot of capital, or my family has money in my country and they want me to invest in some type of business here. And they say, can I apply for the 188? And I say, no, you can't apply for the 188A because you need to have a history of owning a business already. And that has to be at least 2 years. So either you already had a business in your home country and then you came to Australia on a student visa, and we try to use that business as your main business, or a lot of people want to buy a business in Australia or start a business here as students. So you have to be very careful here, because we cannot suggest that you buy a business with a plan to get a visa, because migration law changes all the time and it would be very risky. So when people come to talk to us and say, I want to buy restaurants, can I get a visa later? We always say, be very careful. This is a very risky plan. But if you are here today and you are already bought that restaurant, or you already started a business, then you might as well use that business to meet the main business requirement. If you're thinking about it, you really have to be careful. You have to have a very good accountant like YNS, and you have to have a very good migration strategy, talking to a registered agent to make sure that you understand the risks, and nothing in migration is guaranteed. So you might buy a business and in 2 years' time, the law changed again. So, when you study something, there are risks too, but this, I think it's even riskier because of the investments required. Now, if you are using a business here in Australia that you already started or bought, or if you're using a business in your country, that business has to have a minimum turnover, and it must be in operation for at least 2 years. That turnover used to be $500,000 a year. From the 1st of July, the legislation changed and went up to $750,000. So it is very onerous now at the moment to meet these. So if you're here if you're in your home country and the business has been trading for a while, chances are that the business could be turning over that amount per year. So $750,000 every year for at least 2 years. Now, if you just started a business in Australia, or if you bought a business in Australia and you're in a student visa, that's where I was coming from before. For you to make the business become this successful, it would be hard if you have work limitations on your student visa. So if you can work full-time because you're the wife of a student doing an MBA, then this is not a problem. But if you are the student who can only work part-time, how are you going to build your business to the point that it turns over $700,000 a year? Is it impossible? No, but you need to have two things: capital investment and personnel. Because let's say I come here on a student visa and I buy a restaurant, and I'm here by myself and I don't have a lot of money to invest, so I decide I'm going to be doing everything in the beginning. It's a small restaurant, so I'll be cooking, I'll be serving the food, I'll be managing the restaurant. Maybe the restaurant's very successful and it turns over 750,000 a year, but I didn't make any investments. I didn't hire any people. The Department of Immigration, when you apply for your 188 visa, may say, how did you do this on a student visa? This could be a problem. Now, if you invest something in that business and you hire people and you have systems in place, it's not impossible. So, for example, I have a client who bought a restaurant on the Sunshine Coast on a student visa, and he has 2 managers and he has a team of people. He has 2 chefs, he has 10 waiters, and I don't think he's in breach of his visa conditions. He's making strategic decisions about that business, and he's only working 20 hours a week. I've also asked him, of course, are you working more than 20 hours a week? And he said no. So I trust him, but I know that he made an investment on that business. He hired people, and when the time comes to apply for his 188, that's what my submission to the department is going to be. Now, if you had a business in your home country, or if you started a business here, or you bought a business and your business is turning over 750,000, great, but that is not enough. You also need to show that you have assets. What are the assets? So I put here, I'm just going ahead a little bit, but I'll come back. You need to show that you have not only money in the bank, but other things as well could count as assets. If you have property in your name, if you have investment funds, if you have shares, if you have jewelry, if you have assets in a business, that all counts. It doesn't have to be just money in the bank. So the problem here is this also went up considerably. The minimum assets used to be 800,000. From the 1st of July, it's now $1,250,000. So having the business alone and having the minimum turnover, it's not enough. You also need to have assets. Now, those assets also need to have been legally acquired. You can't say, okay, I don't have any assets now. You come for a consultation with me, and in 3 months you show up and show me, now I have $1.5 million in my bank account. I'm going to say, okay, how did you get the money? If you sold assets, then we're going to have to show that you know, where did the money come from? Was it from the sale of those assets? You sold the house. Your father sold the house in your country and gave you the money. That's not a problem, but we have to show how your father bought the house. Was it bought legally? Was it bought because your father had a business or had a good job, or he saved over the years? And why did he give you the money? We have to track where it came from. So recapping, 188 visa, business innovation and investment visa under stream A is for people who already have a business, either here or in their countries. Business needs to be turning over $750,000 a year for at least 2 years. And that has to be recent. It has to be in the last 4 years. So, but I left my business in my country and came to Australia as a student. If that's still within the last 4 years, we can even use businesses that you sold and you don't own anymore, but it has to be in the last 4. But having a business alone is not enough. You need to have also assets of 1.25 million. Having just the money is also not enough. So a lot of people come to us and say, I just want to, give the Department of Immigration some money. Isn't there a visa that I can buy? Yes, there is one. It's called Significant Investor Visa, but that requires $5 million. So on this slide, I'm showing you the 4 possible streams of the 188 visa. So the one we're talking about today is Business Innovation, A. A second one is Business Investor, B, where you still need to show you were a business owner or a professional investor, and then you come to Australia and you invest $2.5 million in government bonds and a managed fund portfolio. The Significant Investor 188C is the one that it doesn't matter if you won the lottery, if you got an inheritance, if you married someone rich, if you have $5 million, as long as the money has been legally acquired, it cannot come from crime proceedings, for example, anything that's illegal, then it will be accepted. But this money on 188B and 188C, the money stays there for at least 4 years before you can apply for PR. With the Business Innovation, it's a smaller investment, but you need to have a business history. The Premium Investor stream was abolished on the 1st of July. It used to require $15 million. This is really, and you could only apply by invitation of Austrade. So that is gone because I don't think a lot of people were applying for it. We also have Entrepreneur Stream, 188E. A lot of people talk about this visa as if it's something, okay, I have a business idea, I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm going to apply. And this is my first business. Unfortunately, it's not that simple with this visa. Yes, you don't need to have a history of having businesses before, and you have to have a good idea, but you need to raise capital in Australia, either with the government, a university, or a venture capital partnership. And you really need to have a very innovative idea. This is what I call the Shark Tank stream, because you need to pitch to someone who will invest in your business, so it's not that simple. But today, as I said, it's all about you're here on a student visa and we're looking at applying for the Business Innovation 188 stream. So this is the process. We need to obtain state nomination and make an expression of interest before you can apply for the 188 visa. So we can look after all of these steps for you. Once you're invited and we launch the 188A, you're going to get a 5 years visa. During those 5 years, you're going to have to buy or start a new business in Australia if you don't have a business here already. If you have a business here already, I can use that business to meet the requirements of history, but it can also be your future business plan. And during those 5 years, you're going to have to meet some targets to apply for the 888A. So I can see someone's already asking how much they need to invest and generate before applying to the 888. I'm going to cover that towards the end of the presentation where we talk about the 888. So we're going to have to apply for state nomination at 2 different points in time. So not only I have to look at what the Department of Immigration wants, but also what states and territories want. So you also, you have to tell me, I want to open a business in New South Wales, or I already have a business in Melbourne, so I want to continue in Victoria, because then we need to look at what that state where you are or where you want to be is going to require. Jay is asking, how many business partners could you have in this company? The number of business partners, there's no maximum, but you should be the owner of at least 51% of the shares, because what the department wants is see that you control the business, and you only have control if you're the majority shareholder. Now, this is for the proposed business. If we're looking at the previous business, the history business, you could have less. So we're going to have a look at that. One very important thing, this is not a visa for you to put money in a bank and not do anything with it. It's a business for people to buy or start a business in Australia, if you haven't done so already. So for example, I'll give you some real examples of cases I've had. I had a client from Brazil who came over here, and he is in Brazil already, and he came on a student visa. When he was studying, he saw that there was a niche in the market to do exactly what he was doing in Brazil. So he approached us and said, I have a business plan. It was in Queensland. I want to do this here in Brisbane. Can I apply for some sort of visa? So we applied for the 188. I used his business in Brazil as the main business, so the business that made him qualify. And then we submitted the business plan to Queensland saying, Queensland, this is what this guy wants to do. He's starting a new business. And Queensland said, great idea. We want you to do it. Let's go for it. That's one scenario. So Camilo was asking about having a company in Colombia. So if you already have a company in Colombia or any country you're from watching me today, we could use that company to meet the main business requirements, which is in front of you. Now, you also have to propose a new business. So like my client in the example did, a completely new business. I've also had a case where this girl was here on a student visa. She was from Germany. She completed a bachelor in business and then applied for a graduate visa. When she got the graduate visa, she got full work rights, and she bought a restaurant that already existed in Sydney. She got 2 years on that graduate visa, and she really cranked the restaurant. She made an investment to buy and to improve the restaurant. In 2 years, she came to us and said, I've got this restaurant turning over more than $1 million a year, and there's 20 people employed. I want to stay in Australia. What did we do? We applied for a 188. So I used the Sydney restaurant as her main business, but it was also her future business. So she didn't have to start a new business. If you already have a business here, that business could be used for both. But as long as you haven't breached the conditions on that visa, okay? Yaritza is asking me, a question. Let me see here. The $200 could come from someone. What $200, Yaritza, from investing in the business?
I think this is, we got that question, but it's from, I think it goes back to the entrepreneurial visa. You know how the entrepreneurial visa, usually you need 200,000. I knew that the investors used to be needing, the money coming used to come from the investors. I'm not sure if I could be wrong, but from the 1st of July, the 200,000 could come from different, but I'm not sure if that's correct. So I think that's what they're asking.
Yeah, no. So today we're focusing on the 188A, which is the innovation visa. The entrepreneur is the 188E. There used to be a requirement to raise capital from a venture capital in Australia, and it was 200,000 at least. That has been taken off, but if you look at the visa from the department, it's not talking about any money, any investment, nothing like that. So Oscar,
so it's not limited anymore.
Oscar is saying that the 188 is more appealing. It's more appealing if you guys have raised the capital, because as I said, it's a very difficult visa to apply. But the department took off the 200, and the 200,000 now is not required, but you still need to raise capital from somewhere, not from a family member though. So for example, not all states have published their requirements, but for example, New South Wales, you still need to raise some capital, and they're going to look into, is this capital enough to run this business? So it has to be an innovative idea. The business idea and the person will have to go to an incubator, and New South Wales has published a list of incubators, and you need to raise capital still with the government, with a university, and also with a venture capital. The change on the 1st of July was that now you don't need to raise 200,000 minimum. However, if your business idea, you have a huge innovative business idea, it's going to be hard for you to be approved for this visa with less money than that. Even if you have, if they allow for you to get funding from a family member, it still needs to be a very innovative product or service. For example, buying a restaurant, it doesn't work in this visa. They're looking at, IT, tech, something for that. So the 188E is not easier, it's harder when it comes to legislation. So you're going to have, like I said, New South Wales, you're going to have to go through an incubator. So an incubator is a program where you have to develop your business idea, test it, and then get the funding. So funding will have to happen anyway. The only difference from the 1st of July is that they took the 200,000 away, and each state and territory will have a different requirement. So unfortunately, I don't think.
A question here, Erika. Who says it's an innovative idea or no?
Sorry, can you repeat that, please?
Who says it's an innovative idea? Is the government, or
it's the state?
You have to pass it to someone.
The state nominating authorities. So, for example, New South Wales will require an incubator. So the incubator is a business that develops other businesses, and they have a list of the businesses, and then they will decide if that is, if you're not accepted by the incubator, your business is not innovative. So like I said, people wanting to buy restaurants, that's not an innovation. So it has to be a new service, and that is in the federal legislation as well. You need to have invented something new, a product that doesn't exist, or you created a new service, or you created a new way of delivering or selling a service. So it really, if you read the legislation, it's pretty much something that doesn't exist. So I know a lot of people, a lot of people talk about the 188E as being a pathway for students. If you have a very innovative idea, then maybe, otherwise it might not be the best. Let's have a look at Victoria, just to show you how much innovation Victoria is also requesting. So I'm going to skip this because I covered all this. It's about the 188A. So again, regardless of the business stream you go with, you cannot have a history of involvement with businesses or dealings that are unacceptable in Australia. So for example, a crazy example, you are from a country where it's legal to sell something that is not legal here. Even if it's legal in your country and it's not legal here, we can't use that. The government's not going to accept you. Overall, successful business career means you could never have had a business that went bankrupt before. So if you had a business in your home country and you had to close the business and declare bankruptcy, then you don't have a successful business career. They're not going to accept you. We have a points test, but not for all streams, just for the innovation stream. The entrepreneur stream doesn't have a points test. And some requirements from some states for the 188A. So if you're proposing property development, some states don't accept it. For example, South Australia doesn't accept it. Western Australia accepts it, but only if there's at least 3 dwellings, 3 houses in the condominium or 3 apartments in the building minimum for you to be accepted. South Australia does not want any property development and doesn't want any importation businesses as well. Canberra requires investment of at least 200,000 and doesn't have any exclusions. So whatever you propose to them, they're fine. Same with the Northern Territory, but they prefer that you have been there already that you have a partner that's in the territory, in other words, links. New South Wales is closed. They're going to open on the 20th of September. But as I said, with the 188E, very, very hard to get this visa in New South Wales, because you will have to get into an incubator program, and it's very hard to get into one. And you're still going to have to raise capital, but it's not 200,000 anymore. They said it's capital enough to run the business. So if you have a grand plan, you might need more than that, and they might not, let you bring money from home. Now, Victoria had very big changes, and they have what is called the target sector. So they're only really taking people who either have a background of studies or experience in their STEM fields, or in other words, science, technology, engineering, maths, or medicine. So they've become really, really strict because, of course, all the outbreaks of coronavirus in Victoria, they're not nominating a lot of people. Again, the proposed business activity has to be innovative. It has to be an innovation. And as I was saying before, it's either a product that doesn't exist, or that you innovated so much that it becomes 10 times better. So as I said before, if you have a cleaning company, a restaurant, if you have an engineering services company, that's unfortunately not an innovation. If you're not selling a product, it could be a process or a service innovation, where either the service being delivered or how that service is delivered is also new or improved. Again, if we're looking at the 188A, whoever opens the business here or continues to operate a business here will have to do so for at least 2 years, but hold this visa for 3. And answering Camilo's question earlier, that business needs to turn over at least $300,000 a year. It is a requirement to grow the assets in that business and employ Australians, and then ask for state nomination again. If we're looking at the 188E, the entrepreneur, which seems that it's what most people are interested in today, you need to run that business, and you have to have at least 51% of that business, and you need to again apply for state nomination after 3 years, and show to the department that you implemented the innovative plan that you had in the beginning. So the business plan is very important. You need to go through the process of having that business plan assessed. The Department of Immigration is going to say, okay, so you're proposing to open a software company, and you're going to create this new software that doesn't exist. And the software is going to be like this. You're going to need 10 people, and you're going to need 300,000 in investment. When you apply for the permanent visa, they're going to look into, okay, did you get the funding? How did you use that money? Did you create the software that you planned to create? And where's the business now? How much you're turning over? Is the business financially healthy and successful? Okay, so that's what I had to tell you today. I focused on the 188A, and if you think that's for you, we can do a preliminary assessment. But if you're interested in the 188E as well, feel free to contact us. We can, assess your chances there as well.
You're there, Rita? Yeah, thank you very much.
Beautiful. Do you want to add something from the accounting perspective?
Yeah, so I don't know, do we answer all the questions that are in the chat? Do we have any other questions there?
I think we did.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Elena is asking, does partnership business is in this category? You can have a partner, and if we're talking about the 188E, you must have a partner, because that investor who's putting the money in the business will want to own a percentage of your business. So, but you have to retain control. You need to have at least 51% of that new business. What else? Someone's asking about how much funding. So there's no minimum now, but it's got to be enough funding to realize the business plan. What else? I think we should receive more information on the 188E. Yes, Oscar. Yep, I can give you information on the 188E. Give us by email, and we can arrange for that, because Oscar thinks it's more appealing to students. I disagree. As I said, it's not an easy pathway. Sometimes it's easier to, follow some other pathway. But if you have an innovative idea, happy to have a chat and see. Antonio, thank you so much. Thank you, Antonio. Thank you for being with us today. And I think I covered all the questions. Anyone has any other questions? No?
Okay, perfect. So what I could do, Andrea, I don't know, you can be the host, or so I can transfer and I can show you guys my screen.
I'll stop sharing mine.
Okay, let me just see where is. Nice. We just organize. Okay, I think, have you guys seen my screen yet?
No, I cannot see it.
Okay, let me try one more time. What about now?
Yes, now we can see it.
Now we can, yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so this is me. I'm Yaritza Salazar. I'm the director of YNS Accounting for anyone who are here and obviously don't know us. So as a company, we have been in the market since 2008. At the moment, we had offices in Melbourne, in Sydney, in Brisbane, and in Adelaide. Before I start, guys, just for insurance purposes, whatever information I'm giving you today is general information only. If you need any information or advice for your personal circumstances, you have to ask your own accountant or financial advisor. Okay, so from the point of accounting point of view, when we come to these business visas, it could be the 188 or the 188E. One of the things, as you mentioned, is the business plan. The business plan is something that is essential as part of the application. So with the business plan, you can has two choices. Whatever business you choose, you can either do it yourself or you can pay someone to do it for you. If you want to do it yourself, the government is actually very friendly. They had this page where you can go get the templates and actually do a whole business plan step by step. So this is the link, guys. If you had a business idea, and especially with the innovation part of it, it's very essential that you had a business plan for this kind of business. And because many of you guys are here are the students, and probably not everybody is going to have $500,000 or the 200,000 to invest, but you maybe have good ideas and you need to sell those ideas to someone to be able to get the funding. So then is when you're going to need this business plan or your innovative idea to present it to them, and eventually when you do the application to present it to the government so they accept your idea. That's one important thing. The second important thing is the structure in which you're going to decide to run your business in Australia. And here, as a student, is something that is also a myth when they say that as a student you cannot open a business in Australia, or you can own a company, or you can own a trust. It's totally not true. It's what I always say to everyone. Imagine that you were a rich Chinese investor and the government is going to tell you, no, you cannot invest in a company or you cannot buy shares in a company because you're not a permanent resident of Australia. It's exactly the same thing with a student. And a student come here to study, but if he decides to invest in a company, buy shares in a company, or invest in a business, he can do it and open a business without any problem. As long as Erika said, you follow your 40 hours of work. There are ways around it in the sense of how you're going to take money out of the business. But any of these structures that you see here, which is obviously solo trader is not a structure. Solo trader is when you are your own business. So you are the person or the business. When you do a partnership, I think someone before was asking the question of the partnership. So the partnership is when 2 or 3 people get together to do a business. Then we had the company, which the company is great. Why? Because company gave us obviously good for the structure, but for asset protection. So that's excellent. The company, and the company has something that investors love, and is the flexibility of raising capital, the flexibility of having people coming in and out of the business. So that's why companies probably is one of the favored structures in Australia to run business. And then we had the trust as well. The trusts are really good structures. We love it as an accountant, and I wish all my clients could have trust, family trust, so we can pay less taxes. But it's important with the trust. They are more expensive to run, but it has really good advantages from the say taxation point of view and the protection as a protection point of view. But whichever one of these you decide to take your business, is very important that you get it right from the beginning. Why? Because when you change structures, and this is where people sometimes they start a business and say, oh, let's see how we go, and run the business for a year and a half, and they say, oh, the business is doing really well. Let's use this business for immigration, but now I run my business as a solo trader, and I'm going to change it to a company. Well, whatever year and a half that you run your business in your own name, legally for immigration does not exist, because it's a totally different structure to the one who is going to do the application. And your company starts existing from the day that you do the registration of the ASIC and the alien of the company. So it's what I always say to the guys, if you open a business in Australia and you have any immigration purposes whatsoever, these things cannot get wrong from the beginning. Sometimes it's hard to fix later on, or it's time consuming, that in the sense that you cannot get back on time. And then you sometimes will be delayed in certain process if you don't get your instructions right from the beginning. So that's 2 important points with the business visas. The business plan, the structures is vital. As I say, we had the solo trader, the companies, we have the companies, we had the unit trust, and the partnership. Where did I leave the partnership? Oh, okay. But the partnership, I don't know what happened to that slides. I promise for the next one I get it to you guys. Once you decide your structure, then the third important thing is that you do what we call compliance. You have to comply with the government regulations and make sure that you can show, is what I say to the guys in law and for immigration, things exist or don't exist, is whatever you can prove. So you have to prove to immigrations that your business has a good turnover, that your business has employees. So you have to have all the registration in place. You had to be registered for GST. You had to have work cover insurance. You had to do payroll. You had to have all your licenses. So this is the other third part, very important when you're running your business. And don't do this whole thing of paying in cash, not declaring this income, paying employees in cash, receiving cash, and then they say, no, but I'll make a lot of money. Show me the bank account. How you lodge a pass? How you pay your employees? Where is the pay as you go? Where is the payment slip? So this is the third point when you're running the business in Australia, to make sure that compliance with the regulations and the obligations is very, very, very important, because if your business is going to support you in any immigration application as a sponsor, as a 11A visa or 11E visa, all these things is important that you have it in place to show the government the genuinity of this business. Especially in the area of innovation, and here is just as a tip, I don't know which one of you had gone through this part of the innovation part, is what I call the trademark, right? Sometimes we have what we call the cheap option or register a name, which is a business name, which is only $85 with ASIC. But when you had something innovated, something that you don't want to be copy, then you had to get what we call legal protection. You had to protect that idea. You had to make sure that nobody's going to copy, or if you go and pitch it to someone, that person is not going to use it. You need to get agreement before you do a pitch and stuff like that. So in that part, you had to make sure you trademark or the registration or the protection of the innovation ideas, right, process, services, whatever you're going to offer, are protected and nobody's going to take your idea away from you. So this is the 4 important part of this business if we decide to go through this path of business visas. And the last one, the 5th one that we always tell is, sometimes we wish we had what we call the rich uncle, but we don't. Some of them don't. So then the government do have some really good grants and programs running for business, and this will be depends pretty much in what Erica said, like the innovation idea and the area where you are located. So going back to the point 1, when you're doing your business plan and maybe you are short of money, just do a little search of the grants or the programs that may be available in the area where you want to open your business. So again, guys, I'm going to leave you this page. This page is where you can go and see which grants are available in the postcode or locations where you are going to open your business, right? And this way is what I say to my clients. When you have grants and programs, you accommodate to business to what they want, to the eligibility that they want. If they say you need to have 3 employees, well, you go and hire 1 more employee. If they say you need to have yellow, green, then you do whatever it is, and you accommodate your business to satisfy the eligibility of the grants. And in this area, with COVID, the government is being very generous. The government now, more than the skill visa, they're really focusing in people who wants to come here, create businesses, create employment. So they're focusing also in the areas that get in headaches. The areas that get in headache is areas where there is a lot of Centerlink people that they don't want to work. So you go there, open your business, where there are all these areas. There is people that in Melbourne, for example, Geelong, Frankston, go and open your business there, because that's one of the headaches for the government. Go to the regional areas where they want to bring young people, young families, Adelaide, Tasmania, areas of Queensland, right? So in those areas as well, go through this website. There are a lot of grants that are going to help businesses that go to these areas and help the government. Here are more grants. So it's what I say. The grants come like in 3 big areas for them. The areas of what we call the innovations, the areas of government innovation is Tasmania, is Geelong, Melbourne North, and these ones that depends in employment generation, innovation in regional areas. So we will have to focus in this, and here is more like, how can my business help Australia? If my business is going to help them in any of these 3 areas, then you will find grants and you're going to find help for your business. And this will be for all these people that have great ideas, don't have the money. How can I grow my business? How can, get that base or how can it start? So this is the fifth point that we just want to bring for you guys today. So very sure, I know that we already went over the time, but I don't know if you had any questions regarding these 5 points that we just touched before. Andrea, do we have any questions there?
There was a question before about the 188 as well. Yeah, it's while you were presenting, I took the liberty of answering.
Okay, that's all right, Aline. That's perfect. No, all clear, Camilo. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Yeah, so that's what we can help you. We can help you from the accounting point of view, and that's what we do with with all, you know, immigration agencies that we work. This thing has to be as a puzzle. Every piece has to click, right? And what you cannot prove to immigration, it does not exist. Whatever doesn't have a bank account, whatever doesn't have a financial statement, doesn't have a financial plan, if you do it, and this is when the informality and where we had to change our switch of our South American culture of that here you had to show to them that you cannot be hired and do things under the table. The opposite, you had to be showing more income, showing more turnover, showing that your business is growing. Yaritza, I'm going to pay a little bit more tax. Who cares? But this, you want a visa, this is what you had to do. So this, we had to send that switch, say visa and taxes go against each other kind of thing. But at the end of the day is the result that you want and the big plan that you had to do to achieve what you want to do, which eventually is to be able to stay here in Australia.
Very important, Yaritza. Over the years, we had many clients who had good ideas or had even started businesses here, but who were doing work under cash or who didn't have, weren't paying their taxes properly. And then when it came to apply for the next visa, we just couldn't do anything because, as you said, there was no evidence, no proof of anything.
Yes, and that's happened all the time. Oh, for me, the other thing is the structure. Sometimes they decide to start with. We have few people that got the sponsor. They have really good businesses. Some people are really, really creative, and they, I want to run my business as an ABM because I don't know how to pay an accountant or something like that. It's not going to take you anywhere. And there's some guys that are creating amazing businesses, and they started small and get to turnover to 200,000-300,000, and then they are able to sponsor themselves or a family member, whoever. But everything has to be right from the beginning. Some things can be fixed, another thing cannot be fixed. So if it gets fixed, it's going to take you longer time, and you will have to stay. And also, it's what I said, you have to be market ready because in immigration, changes happen all the time.
Yes.
So your business has to be ready, has to be up to date with buses. You have employees perfect, whatever it is, because you never know when immigration wake up and open a new window for a new business, a new stream or whatever. And then you have to be ready to jump in and be able to apply.
That's right. And with the constant changes, as we just saw, the changes that happened to the whole 188 visa with all the streams. One of the streams was even canceled. So, it's very important to create a good plan as well. The 188 visa wasn't really created for students, come from student visa to the 188. There's nothing in the legislation that prevents that from happening as long as the student is a genuine student and starts a genuine business and then genuinely wants to proceed with the 188, or if they have an innovative idea as well. What is important is that, other agencies are out there. I see a lot of student agencies selling this idea of the entrepreneur visa as a possible thing. And for a lot of people, it might not be because you really need an innovative idea, a good business plan, work with an accounting firm like yours, where all the numbers and projections and the business plan, that's all in order. And that's not very easy. It's not for every student. So we see a lot of that, people overselling this idea when it's really not the case. I'm sure there's many people with innovative ideas out there, or if it's not an innovative idea, nothing prevents the student from buying a business that already exists, or
sometimes is what I say,
starting from zero.
We have few clients that they start their own businesses, and the business was able to sponsor them after 2 or 3 years because they did really well. Yeah,
yes.
but then the structure has to be right from the beginning. They cannot do solo traders or stuff like that, or working cash or something like that. It's just not going to be working.
Yes, and that's a lot of people think that the self-sponsorship days, some people call this self-sponsorship, that this is not possible anymore. The legislation for that never changed. There's nothing in the legislation that prevents someone from self-sponsoring, but a sole trader cannot sponsor themselves. It has to be a PTY sponsoring the individual.
Yeah.
And there's nothing in the legislation that prevents that individual from being one of the shareholders of the PTY. Again, what changed over the years was the policy. Since December 2015, the policy got much stricter, on the sense that if the person being sponsored is one of the directors, or even just related to the director, then there's extra scrutiny. So they're going to look, is that business genuine? Does that person, did they invest money and made the business successful, or did the business become successful even without a huge investment? And is it economic benefit to Australia? Is the business employing other Australians? So now the business really needs to be turning over a good amount of money and employing Australians to be approved. But that's still possible. Other people use the business, instead of sponsoring, they use for the 188A if they have assets from back home, or if they build assets here. And some people look at the significant investor. If they have family money, there's many pathways there. But like you said, always it's got to be documented, and the person needs to be working with good advisors, a good accounting advisor like you, a good business plan writer, migration agent, marketing manager, all, to make the business the best as possible.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Erika, great for that. Is great information, guys. So if we don't have any more questions, let me just go back to our chat here. Andrea, do we have any internal questions? No, I don't see here anymore. That has been great information, Erika. I hope so you guys take advantage of it. You're going to receive an email from us anyway with our details and Bravo Migration's details. And then we wish you all the best of luck to all of your business entrepreneurial ideas. And it's what I said, don't get discouraged. Australia is looking for this. They're looking more for people that want to create business, create employment here. So just make sure you market ready, you get your things on top, and that's what I say. This is a plan, long-term plan. Sit down with your immigration lawyer, make a plan A, B, and C, and have the business there somewhere as an option.
For sure. I make your words mine. And thank you again for inviting us. And hopefully we can assist someone in the future there. Thank you so much.
So good afternoon, everyone, and see you soon. And again, guys, if you want, we run this kind of events. So follow us on Facebook. Anything that we come out that we see that can help the community, we put it in Facebook. So we put more seminars, anything, just follow us in there, and see you in the next one.